Hey guys, welcome to review The Link Between Worlds. Footage credit to Zach's Got Games. He's actually commentating on it too. I just turned the volume all the way down. But I don't want to spoil the Master Sword upgrade for you, so I'm just gonna put it up myself for a second. The Master Sword upgrade's just one of the many optional things in The Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds for Nintendo 3DS. This is a game that has got a lot of praise, not just among critics, because every Zelda game gets praise among critics, but Link Between Worlds has been called the best by a lot. It perfectly balances old and new, and honestly, it's the best Zelda game I've played. Now, I haven't played A Link to the Past or Majora's Mask. The only ones I've played are Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and Spirit Tracks. But the big one there is Ocarina of Time. It's better than Ocarina of Time, in my opinion. Something about the top-down games. While I haven't played that many of them, in fact, I've really only played the one, Link Between Worlds, something about them, like, the world is always more dense in the top-down games. Like, whereas in the regular games, not the regular games, the 3D games, there's always, because the 3D games always have, like, some vast overworld that you have to use to go to places. And that overworld gets boring. Whereas the, what's my train of thought? God dang it. The footage is distracting me. I'm easily distracted, I'm sorry. But, what am I talking about? Derp. I'll probably cut back to when I remember what I was talking. Okay. What was I talking about? I'm lost. Okay, I remembered what I was talking about. So all the 3D Zelda games have like an overworld that's kind of barren. But the top-down games are like always like super dense areas full of stuff, full of little hidden secrets, and they're just so much more explorable. Like that's a Maya, and now you know how to get a Maya. But shut up, battery icon. But it's just like it's so much more explorable. Like, normally when I play a Zelda game, I get stuck on a part, I explore for maybe a little while, and then I use YouTube to find the answers. But the fact that it's on the 3DS, which for some reason when it's on a handheld, it's easier for me to not use YouTube to figure out everything. Maybe because I'm sitting down and I'm just more immersed in the game, I guess, when I'm on the handheld than when I'm doing a Let's Play. But like, well, there's so much optional stuff in this game. Like the shield he's holding, optional. The Pegasus boots, optional. That upgraded version of the sword, optional. There's so many different ways you can play this game, because you can do the dungeons out of order, because see the shop? You can rent the items in any order and then buy them, and then you can rent them all from the beginning and then have access to everything. Now there is a certain order to it. You have to do the Eastern Palace first, and then you can choose between the Tower of Hera and the House of Gales for which one to go first and which one to go second. And then you unlock Low Rule, and then you can do them all 7 of them, except for one of them, which you have to get the Sand Rod for, which you have to beat the Thieves' Hideout to get the Sand Rod. Does this really count as spoilers? Yeah, this is a spoiler review. I'm just going to warn you now, because there's a twist ending that I want to talk about. But, just, like, I haven't quite completed the game yet. I haven't beaten the final boss. I want to collect the last Maya. Maya are these little collectibles, and I think I know where the last one probably is, but I can't figure out how to get to it. And, there's just, like, it's just such a great game. It's so explorable. Like, I never felt like I needed to use YouTube. In fact, I used YouTube for one puzzle in, the Swamp Palace, and that was it. I literally never used it for, well, I guess I've been watching been watching LPs of it as I play it, and that's part of the reason I haven't used YouTube, because I figure the stuff that I can't figure out, the LPs will show eventually, and I figured out how to get, I remember this one heart piece that I didn't get before, But, like, there's so much stuff I just stumbled upon in this game. Like, for example, one time I was like, dang it, I wish I had a bottle so I could have more health, because I was, like, stuck on a boss or something. And I'm just roaming around the world looking for rupees and stuff, and I wander under this bridge, and I find this guy under the bridge with a tent, and he's watching the birds, and he gives me a bottle. Like, and there's no indication of it. In fact, the game does not handhold you at all. Honestly, Ocarina of Time handholds you more than this game. Now, granted, this game isn't the hardest. It's relatively easy, but it's harder than Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess, I think. Well, actually, not so much harder than Twilight Princess. But then again, Twilight Princess was my first Zelda game, so when I played it, I was really bad at Zelda games, so it's hard for me to say. But Link Between Worlds beats out Twilight Princess, which was my old favorite game, just barely. Honestly, taking away the nostalgia factor, because nostalgia kind of makes Twilight Princess win out, but taking away the nostalgia factor, this game beats Twilight Princess hands down. It's just so good. And there's all sorts of new little additions that make it interesting. While the world from A Link to the Past is the same, which makes it even more impressive how dense the world is, because it's a world from an NES game, SNES game, which is like an old console, like 1990s old. But like I say likes. Like, do you like likes? Because if you don't like likes, then I'm not doing that. My reviews are so terrible. Oh, hi. I didn't end this video, I guess. No more footage for you. Yay. So, now there's nothing to distract me from the review. This has been going on for way too long. And there's just, like, the world is huge, and there are two versions of it, too, because there's Hyrule and Lorule, and it's full of these optional, like, mini caves and all the secret stuff you can find, and there's so much freedom to what order you can do it in, which is awesome. And the wall merging thing, which, if you've heard of this game, you've probably heard about it. It's the main gimmick of the game, is Link can turn into a painting, merge with walls, and then, like, walk on the walls. And it's cool. It's used in very cool ways all throughout the game. It's even used in the final boss, which, spoiler, by the way, in the end of the boss, or I think the end of the boss, you have to shoot, the boss turns into a painting, and you turn into a painting, and you shoot light arrows at it in the painting, which is the only time you can ever attack inside of a painting. It's super cool. Speaking of final boss, there's a twist ending at the end, which, honestly, I saw it coming, and I'm pretty sure most people did, but it wasn't, like, crystal clear, so it was still at least decently surprising. Especially since Zelda games don't usually have plot twist. Like, you find out that Hilda, the Princess of Lorule, is actually trying to take your Triforce so that she can restore Lorule. And this is in, like, a cutscene and stuff. And that's right before the boss. One thing I didn't like about the game, though, was, Yuga. Like, he was built up as this Girahim-like character who seemed pretty interesting. And you meet him once when he turns Ceres into a painting. You meet him once more when you fight him in the Eastern Palace, and then you meet him again when you fight him in Hyrule Castle, and then he turns into basically Ganon, and you never see him, and he never talks to you again, really. Like, yeah, you see him, you fight him in the end boss, and I think maybe he says one or two lines, but really, like, his character is just discarded, like, not even halfway through the game. It kind of sucky. And the dungeons are good, too. I'm just reviewing this all out of order. Crazy, Batman crazy. The dungeons are pretty good, too. I mean, some of them are kind of lackluster. The Swamp Palace, I didn't really like, although it was good for a water dungeon. The Turtle Rock was far too easy, and I beat it in, like, maybe half an hour. It was ridiculous. It was not a very fun or memorable dungeon, although the boss in it was pretty fun. But, yeah, not a very memorable dungeon. In fact, I think I had more fun getting the turtles to get to Turtle Rock than I did actually playing Turtle Rock. But some of the dungeons, like the Dark Palace, that's a really fun one. The Ice Palace, the Skull Woods, the Thieves' Hideout are really good. The Thieves' Hideout I particularly like, because there's no real required item, and it's not built like a normal dungeon. I like the dungeons that are very unique and aren't made like normal dungeons. They're just like not like standard, ooh, Ice Dungeon, Evil Dungeon, Dark Dungeon, Fire Dungeon, Water Dungeon, Leaf Dungeon. I mean, I don't mind those dungeons, but it's nice to see something shake up the dungeon formula, and Thieves' Hideout does that very well. And then there's Ice Palace, which is just pretty much the mastering of ice temples. One of the best dungeons in the game. Hard too, because you're walking around on narrow platforms all the time. Hi, Mom, I'm making a video. Okay. And the Dark Palace, which is fun and has some creative puzzles. The Skull Woods is good too, and it's very unique because at several points you have to exit the dungeon and then come back in through other entrances. Honestly, all of the dungeons are very good. The Tower of Hera too is fun. Really easy, but very fun. Like, hitting it with... That's the one that they show in the trailers a lot. Like, where you hit the smiley faces with the hammers and you get launched up. And it's a very vertical dungeon. It's pretty cool. Most of the dungeons are fantastic. In fact, a lot of them stick out in my head. Very, very good dungeon design. Overall, pretty flawless game. A little easy, a little short, but, you know, I guess it's not that short, honestly. It's just the dungeons are too short, though. Like, even the fun dungeons, they don't last long enough. But then again, I guess it's for a handheld, so they were probably trying to make the dungeons easier to play through in one go, and I get that. But I still wish the dungeons had been longer. I mean, even the dungeons in Spirit Tracks were longer, I think. But I might be wrong. I don't know. I know the dungeons in Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time were longer. Twilight Princess had really big dungeons. I actually really like the dungeons in Twilight Princess. Most of them were pretty fun. Even the water dungeon I kind of liked in that game. But this isn't a review of Twilight Princess. I've already made 2 of those. This is a review of A Link Between Worlds, a worthy sequel of A Link to the Past that, in my opinion, lives up to the hype. And it's not just... And, I mean, I realize I'm not the most qualified to say that because I've never played the original, but from others seem to believe the same thing, that it lives up to the hype. It perfectly balances old and new mechanics and makes a fun new gaming experience. And you don't have to go out and find bombs and arrows all the time because there's a stamina meter for all your items. So you have infinite arrows and bombs. The only problem with that is it makes the boomerang useless. Because they have the boomerang, but it does the exact same things as the arrow, except for it doesn't kill enemies. And there's no like cool stuff if they were gonna do it like that, with the stamina meter, they should have had the boomerang have something cool, like you trace its path, like in Spirit Tracks or something, to make it into its own unique item. But no, it was basically just an optional item. You didn't really need it for anything. It was basically a less superior version of the bow that couldn't actually kill enemies. Oh yeah, and weapon upgrades weren't that, like, most of them didn't have any significant relevance. The only ones that were relevant were, like, Ice Rod and arrows, because it allows you to drop 4 ice pieces instead of 1, and arrows because you can shoot 3 arrows instead of 1. Dang, this is a long review, but yeah, I really think that's it. It's just a great game. Not many characters, but then again, the game is not very story-focused. It's very gameplay, explore the world focused, which I like. I mean, I don't mind the story-focused Zelda games. I like story-focused Zelda games, but I also enjoy... It's a very callback Zelda. Like it's a homage to Link to the Past while bringing enough new stuff to justify it as its own game. Perfect. Perfect. Chuck Batman. Okay. Arrivederci.